Get a load of this guy.
Today is Friday. World War III might kick off next week, and it's got me very existential. I think I've figured out why good people, if they die, still go to hell should they not believe in Christ. Does that shit make any sense? Like the correlation? No. But I feel like that applies to all religions in general. Jesus Christ as a mythology, the way to live your life so that at the end of your life, you're not upset with how you lived it. Most definitely. That's exactly what Christ is. By doing things in the way he tells you to do things every single day that you can for the rest of your life in perpetuity until you die, you're going to get to the end of your life and be happy that you lived it that way. That's to say that, after I die, I plan on going to the afterlife with him, but focusing specifically on the part that happens while you're on earth, because that is very important. Parallels that Christianity has between like Stoicism or, I don't know, another religion like Buddhism, Machiavellianism, is that you commit to living a certain way for the rest of your life, regardless of how people perceive you, how it is perceived by the masses, how you feel about it, how much danger it could physically and mentally put you in, continuing down the path until you reach some kind of ascendancy. When in Stoicism, it's the fact that a man becomes able to tackle anything that is put in his path without completely breaking down. And again, for religion, it's the afterlife, or the state of knowing that you're going to the afterlife because of the things that you do. What does that have to do with me saying nice people still go to hell or don't live a life that they want to? Like, if you don't lock in at some point for the rest of your life on one singular decision, you're gonna live in constant regret, constant anxiety, and just like moral inobjectivity, which will make you a more unhappy person in the long run. I'm gonna use an example. It is the taking of a way of life to the point that whatever your decisions at the end of that life, you are fully in accordance with them. The exact opposite of that, in a almost prophetic and parallel kind of way, would be the President of the United States. I feel like he actually represents very well what I'm talking about when I say good person. Good people aren't necessarily good people. They're not doing anything that would grant them access to the higher level of ascendancy that we're talking about. Quite literally being tossed around to everybody, being everyone's bitch for the rest of his life until he dies. Physically, until he dies. One of the richest men in the world ever, probably. Is he happy? No. Was he happy when he was doing all of that shit to people? Probably not. No grown man should be even messing around with people of that age range. Okay? The moral compass should be going off. Everything in religion tells you that it's wrong. And yet, being the good person to the people around him that he is, the President of the United States continues to engage in activities like that. To his cabinet, he's probably the best person. He's keeping them all out of jail. The connection between being a good person, let me state that, doesn't even necessarily have to be the people like you. It's just that, and bear with me now, you're not in opposition to anything. That's a good person. Whenever I'm having a conversation with someone and they say that they changed, I get a bit scrounge-faced, okay? I don't like the word change when it comes to human beings. I feel like we, as human beings, adjust. Because the word change would imply that we ourselves are spiritually and physically different to how we were a set period of time ago, which is incorrect. At most, what happens to a person through trauma or positive reinforcement is a belief that sticks with them throughout the rest of their life. Keeping that in mind, humans can adjust to things that happen, okay? Maybe the way you went about doing things for a length of time in your life was different to how you do them now. That would still be the same person, okay? They've just adjusted the way that they look at things. That's what I'm telling you. You don't change. You just adjust. You can always go back or forward to a version of yourself that you see in your mind's eye better than your current self. Change your fucking friend circles, you can change where you live, what you do. There's a lot of things you can change physically, but as a human being, you must adjust. There's more power in that. There's way more power in that. You take on experience and you grow through experience, okay? You are not trying to throw away something that is old. You are always becoming better, faster, stronger, wiser, okay? People won't like you when you're in opposition to something. Many people have been like, damn, I'm a fucking piece of shit. For no reason. For no reason, bro. For no reason. One of the craziest things that ever happened was I got in shape, came back into someone's life whose life I was out of, and I didn't try to rebuild that relationship, but a nigga's gonna act like a nigga is gonna act in the present time and not the past time, and they didn't like that, so they switched up on me, and they don't like me. Now, if I was a good person in that situation, meaning I would have acquiesced to their demands and retreated into the little bitch shell that I used to be in, they wouldn't have gotten to know me, and I'd be lying to that person anyways. This way, the relationship is completely null and void. They don't like me. I don't feel anything towards them. I feel good. I'm aligned with my moral beliefs, and they might hate, but it's like, damn, it's not about them. You see where I'm going with that? What's a good example? If you go to like a mega church and they demand you to give tithes and offerings, you'll see that they have an ever escalating demand on the people that they're asking money from. Why? Because they know these people believe that if they do a certain thing, they will be rewarded in a certain way. They're trying to pay their way to heaven. What should they be doing? Saying no, not fuck you, because you shouldn't swear. Get away from me, charlatan. Leave that church and immediately congregate amongst actual like-minded religious folk. They just do the same shit. They keep giving people money because they think it's a good thing, but it's not good. That's not what it means. And I hope you understand it, is that instead of being a good person, you should try to be the best version of yourself. Very cheesy, very corny. Same message that I have at the end of all my videos. But this time, I have an actual antidote. And that's beautiful.
So I was watching back my own content recently, and while in the process of doing so, I noticed that in real life, I'm not the same as the person I present online. Duh, nigga, that's probably your response, right? You're probably thinking, yes, no one is exactly the same as they represent on social media. No one puts their ups and downs on social media, but that's not what this is. I definitely put my downs on social media, but it's the way I put them out, you know? I know hindsight is 20/20, and so in the process of going through things, one must account for irrational actions. But I see this YouTube channel as me in an ideal self. As much as these videos come out in the past, they are almost the future version of what I want to become as a whole person, an entire entity. And that dude's not necessarily sure of himself, but he's sure of what he is. Going down that rabbit hole, I need to now think about what would cause a young Negro to be this way though. I already know it's my past experiences. So when I say this way, I'm more speaking to the fact that it almost feels like I still have the tendencies of the old version of myself in a literally brand new, completely different body that people treat differently to how they would treat back in the day, which on paper seems like the best case scenario, all of the experience from your youth plus the advantages you never had. But in a twisted sense of fate, the world does not work like that. Our brains do not work like that. The obvious outcome is to align yourself with the new version of yourself, right? Well, not the new version, the current version, because I am what I am. You see what I'm saying? Which, you know, on paper seems like the most simple thing in this world to do, but that's like giving a deer steroids, like enough steroids to where a deer can just kill anything that comes into its path, and then expecting it to not run when a natural predator shows up. The deer hasn't been shown to be able to kill the thing in its path yet. But if this steroided up deer were to kill this predator with ease, and then it happened at least 3 more times, the deer would understand that it is now jacked enough to take on what used to be considered its own predator. You get what I'm saying to you? You can give this deer all the gear in the world, but that doesn't mean it's gonna go through with becoming the alpha deer. You feel me? A deer would not intrinsically understand why the predator is now looking at it in a way confused and kind of terrified of the deer's new stature, even though it took steroids. Would the deer be more aggressive? 100%. If the predator were to run at the deer and the deer kicks the predator, for instance, the deer would understand its new power. But that's not to say the deer would immediately act on said power and finish the job off. the deer needs more and more exposure, along with the new understanding that this is the neo-normal. Why are we using a steroided up deer? Because that's basically what I am, minus the gear, okay? For all purposes, I think specifically intrinsically tied to the way I think about things, I am anchored in the beliefs of old, while having a much more advantageous position at present. In the case of a steroided up deer that actually has to go toe-to-toe with predators, when it finally decides it has to, it's probably gonna win. That kick is gonna kick the predator clean out. You feel me? But unless the deer is specifically aware of the fact that a kick can and will reliably kill its opponent or its horns or whatever the fuck we're using in this example, every single time the deer encounters fortune, shall we say, enough to kick another predator, it's not going to be able to recognize that and adapt. No, the deer, and myself included, have to walk the walk and talk the talk consistently until we pass on from this earth. And the proof is the legacy of the steroided up deer that gallivanted around the woods, kicking the shit out of predators. Was it normal? No. Should it have happened? Probably not. But it did. And that specific deer, possibly out of a test group of deers, experimented on by a government agency, chose to take extreme advantage of the fact that it could now kick the shit out of predators. While other deers may have found marginal to stagnated success in an endless void of apathy because nothing can reach, challenge, but always make them afraid of them, but they are still afraid of those things, unaware of the power that they now hold. A single deer chooses to stand out, fucking out predators, making a name, eating grass and kicking animals. Is it normal? It will be, as people adjust to the new normal, like predators, like when a dude drops a T-Rex into the Amazon forest and then, the T-Rex proceeds to kill everything violently, except in our scenario, we're using time-accurate animals, you and me included. So your adaptation may come with some caveats, but mostly only benefits. Like if we put a giant dragonfly into a lake somewhere and it just somehow got the right amount of oxygen, that motherfucking thing would thrive, bro. Okay? It would be eating fish. It would be eating other bugs. It would be a terror. And it would grow to sizes not seen before, completely disrupting the ecosystem. But to the ecosystem, it would become the new normal. You see what I'm saying?
I'll leave you with one more. This is why nice guys finish last, okay? I don't personally think there's any separation between a nice guy and the guy who gets a girl, aside from the fact that the guy who gets the girl is okay with the fact that what he says might make her uncomfortable. It's like a very abstract concept for niggas who always go around pleasing women. You can just say certain things to a woman and she might not like what you say, and then what? What happens after that? That's what goes on in their minds. They don't get it. They don't understand that you can't catch them all, and so you have to try to catch them all. You feel me? They wait around until she makes up her mind, or if he's gonna actually end up with this girl, she's gonna get like absolutely fucking plowed by every single person around her, and then settle down with him at like 30, have like 2 kids, never fuck him, steal half his money when she gets divorced, go back on doing hoe shit when she's like 40. It's depressing. No one likes that. If he, 10 years prior to when she got ran through, was completely okay with the fact that she might outright reject him at face value because she doesn't think he's attractive, he doesn't think he's that nigga, then quite literally, he would win and she would win. She would find a sucker or the actual love of her life, and so would he, because he tried with another girl. He wouldn't have to change anything about his character. He wouldn't have to change anything about his interests, what he likes, what he doesn't like. He would just have to try again with different people. completely okay with the fact that he's gonna make a bunch of them uncomfortable, and a bunch of them turned on. Hey, look at this guy who came up to me and said hi. What a beautiful Negro. I like the fact that he's into, I don't know, what a weird nigga's into. People can be into anything these days and it'd be okay. I remember when anime wasn't cool. That's just the coolest thing in the world right now. K-pop is cool. K-drama is cool. Everything is cool if you let it be cool. Instead of like letting people be like, hey, anime sucks. And you're the nice guy who says, yes, it does. No, Jujutsu Kaisen is fucking peak. I won't stand for the slander. Well, boys, this video is too damn positive, so I think won't be a long one though. I've already discussed the idea of despair leading you to a path of greatness in the future. Young boys and girls, if you don't take the advice in this video, and I don't mean to be a fearmonger, I don't know if your life can progress much further than like what it used to be at the peak of it. And you gotta really think about that. You gotta really think about that, okay? I made a video talking about how the only reason I can stand here and be happy with myself is because I was the most unhappy with myself. And that made me realize it could always be worse. I'm gonna flip the whole thing on its head, and I'm gonna tell you that if you actually don't do that thing, you actually don't try to become that Negro to your success or detriment, you will just be a sad pile of shit when you turn 40. You know, because it's cool to be unsatisfied with your life up until you turn like 35 as a man, okay? Because after that, you just seem kind of desperate. And that's not me saying any 40-year-old man who's watching this can't easily turn his life around, but I'm trying to prevent you from getting there. Having a midlife crisis and not being where you want to be by the time you hit like 40, 50, spiritually, shit, money, fake. The only niggas who have the most money in the world touched you. Like, if you're not spiritually aware and in tune with yourself by the time you hit like 35, I don't know. Like, you might be on the earth a long time, but will you really be experiencing life? Lessons with Sam. It can always get worse unless you choose to make it better.